Chapter 1654, Drawing Lots. 1. The top 20 participants of the other families had fought their way to the top. But to Jiang Yixing and the others, Enchanting had entered purely based on luck. No matter who she faced from the other ancient clans, it would be a foregone conclusion. Enchanting, look up there. Jiang Yixing clutched her tightly. Even if Enchanting was only here for a while, she should also gain some experience. He kindly pointed to the seats above the arena. Several youths and girls were seated in those elevated positions. The first was Bailey Shi, whom they had encountered earlier. Do you see those 10 places? They belong to the 10 who won the last championship. They have privileges and will automatically be one of the top 10 finalists in this martial arts championship. To be frank, our matches are only qualifying rounds. The hundreds of us need to compete to identify the top 10, who will then be qualified to challenge those 10 people. We have to beat them in order to be one of the top 10 in this martial arts championship, and enter the mystic realm. Jiang Yixing patiently explained the martial arts championship rules to Enchanting. The time for each martial arts championship was not fixed. Sometimes, the interval between championships was a few years, sometimes it spanned a dozen years. It was said that the longest interval between 2 championships was a few decades. It was not just the various ancient clans who decided when a martial arts championship would take place. It also depended on the Island of Immortal Footsteps, and when the Mystic Realm would open. The martial arts championship would only begin when the Mystic Realm was about to open. And only the younger generation of the various clans could participate in the martial arts championship. Once they were over 25 years of age, they were no longer allowed to participate. This was simply because the Mystic Realm only permitted youths below the age of 25 to enter. Once they passed that age, the Mystic Realm would expel them without care. No one could explain this strange phenomenon. The last martial arts championship had been held 5 years ago. Many of the top 10 contestants from the last championship had not yet reached the age of 25. Hence, they continued to attend this championship and enjoyed certain privileges. Of the top 10 participants from the last championship, only 2 had exceeded the age of 25 and were unable to compete again. Another 2 from the ancient Yu clan were absent. Even so, that left 6 people. These 6 people were the top talents from the last championship. The first is Bailey Shi, while the second has passed the age limit and is absent this year. The third is that girl. Can you see her? Her name is Mu Feiruo. To me, she is like a goddess. Jiang Yixing gazed tenderly at a frosty-looking girl sitting in the 3rd place. Wipe your drool. You're disgusting. Jiang Yiran, who was passing by, heard Jiang Yixing infatuated comments and could not help but feel nauseated. Jiang Yiran subconsciously raised his hand to wipe his mouth, only to find it clean. He glared at Jiang Yiran. Are you worthy to think of Mu Feiruo? With your lousy skills, Mu Feiruo only needs 3 moves to ensure you can't even walk off the dais. I think you should stop wasting your time. Jiang Yiran shrugged nonchalantly. His gaze passed over the powerful figures from the last championship, and he pointed to the youth sitting at the last place. If you want to have intimate contact with Mu Feiruo, you must first beat Bailey Xianyun. He's the 2nd most powerful figure in the Bailey family. Want me to help you ask him whether you can have a private match first? Chapter 1655, Drawing Lots. 2. Do you think I'm not aware of that? As long as I'm one of the top 10 in this championship, I can challenge anyone from the last championship. Who says I have to fight Bailey Xianyun first? Jiang Yixing grumbled. Oh, but first you must have the ability to crawl into the top 10, Jiang Yiran said coldly. Jiang Yiran's words pierced Jiang Yixing's heart. But he could not help but shrink back when he looked at Bailey Xianyun. Bailey Xianyun had come in 10th in the last championship. His moves were unusually brutal and he was an opponent who did not fail to send a chill up one's spine. Noting the terrified expression on Jiang Yixing's face, Jiang Yiran chuckled darkly. Then his gaze fell on the lot in Yi Qingtang's hand. Oh, what a pity. Jiang Yiran compared the motifs on their lots. When he discovered they were different, he shook his head with some regret. What are you so petty? Yi Qingtang was speechless. After Jiang Shaobai had drawn her lot, she draped herself over Yi Qingtang like a sleepy cat. When she saw Jiang Yiran's expression of regret, she lazily glanced at the lot in Jiang Yiran's hand and suddenly said, "Oh, I'm fighting you." Jiang Yiran had been looking smug, but his expression darkened the moment he heard Jiang Shaobai's words. Damn it, surely not. Could he be so unlucky? Was he fighting Jiang Shaobai in the first round? Though Jiang Yiran had been full of confidence, he was instantly terrified by Jiang Shaobai's words. He grabbed his lot and ran over to Jiang Yenyun for some last-minute advice. Jiang Yixing laughed gleefully when he saw Jiang Yiran's pathetic figure. Shaobai, you must teach that fellow a lesson later. Beat him until he can't find his teeth, Jiang Yixing said with a chuckle. In response, Jiang Shaobai merely glanced at him, then waved her lot in front of Jiang Yixing. Her lot's motif was clearly different from that of Jiang Yiran's lot. Jiang Yixing, he had been rejoicing for nothing. Yi Qingtang could not help but laugh at Jiang Shaobai's vicious and petty move. She suddenly looked forward to seeing Jiang Yiran's reaction when he entered the arena only to find that his opponent was not Jiang Shaobai. More and more people drew their lots, and soon all the contestants had drawn their lots and the matches were finalized. They began searching for their opponents. Yi Qingtang's opponent was a youth from the ancient Lin Lan clan and there was no reaction when she saw his opponent. But Jiang Yixing and the others looked mournful. Qingtang, you know that winning or losing is not important. The important thing is that we participated, Jiang Yixing said earnestly as he patted Yi Qingtang's shoulder. That youth from the ancient Lin Lan clan was one of the lower-ranking youths in his clan, but he was truly skillful. How could someone like Yi Qingtang beat him? Jiang Yixing and the others felt that Yi Qingtang would probably be defeated in the first round. They were worried that she would be affected, so they kindly tried to encourage her. Elder Qian and the others recorded the opponents that their family's youths would be facing. Jiang Shaobai and Jiang Yanyun's opponents were not the best, so they were not too worried. When Elder Qian saw Yi Qingtang's opponent, he sighed inwardly. No one felt very hopeful about the outcome of this match. I only hope Yi Qingtang won't lose too badly, or the Chiu family will take the opportunity to mock us, Elder Kun said with a frown. It was hard for him not to worry about Yi Qingtang. He knew it was highly unlikely that Yi Qingtang would win at all in this championship, but if she lost too badly, it would embarrass the Jiang family. Chapter 1656, Drawing Lots 3. Although they were worried, they knew perfectly well that with Yi Qingtang's talent and skills, it would be next to impossible for her to win a round in the martial arts championship. Jiang Yixing and the others encouraged Yi Qingtang, then began preparing for their own matches. Because there were more people participating in the competition this time, they had to compete in batches. Yi Qingtang was in the first round of the last batch. She could still observe other matches in the arena before her own match. Jiang Yiran was in the first batch that entered the arena. Because Jiang Shaobai had misled him, Jiang Yiran entered the arena with a heavy heart. But when he saw that his opponent was not Jiang Shaobai, his tense expression immediately relaxed. Within moments, Jiang Yiran realized that Jiang Shaobai had tricked him and a mottled fury appeared on his face. He immediately vented his anger on his opponent. Their skills were somewhat disparate, and with Jiang Yiran giving it his all, the youth was soon circling the arena blindly and he lost shortly thereafter. The other youths from the Jiang family entered the arena one after another. Yi Qingtang had intended to look for Jiang Xiaobai to watch her match, but the crowd was surging around her and she did not manage to find Jiang Xiaobai. Instead, she watched Jiang Yanyan enter the arena. As the Jiang family's most talented and powerful youth, Jiang Yanyan's skills were not to be underestimated. The youth opposing him seemed unable to make a single move before Jiang Yanyan's series of actions sent him flying from the arena. Elder Qian and the others smiled contentedly at Jiang Yanyan's performance. But before Elder Qian and the others could finish basking, another thunderous roar sounded from the arena. They looked at the arena and saw that a bolt of lightning had sent a youth flying. Qiu Chen stood in the huge arena, surrounded by blue lightning. He was sneering as he observed the crowd with arrogance written all over his face. That fellow from the Qiu family is quite formidable, Elder Qian and the others frowned deeply. Qiu Chen and Qiu Heong have always been exceptionally talented. In addition, the Qiu family has spent a lot of effort in training them. I wonder how many trump cards they still have in their hand. Elder Kun also looked worried. The Qiu family and the Jiang family had never gotten along well. This time, the Qiu family was clearly out to suppress the Jiang family. The Qiu family had come in second in the last martial arts championship. If that person had not passed the 25-year mark, he would have been sitting among the top 10. Xiaobai, Elder Kun asked meaningfully. Elder Qian nodded and they did not say any more. At that moment, the elder from the Qiu family walked over slowly, to the congratulations of the other ancient clans. He looked at the Jiang family elders. Elder Qian, what do you think of our Qiu Chen's thundercloud fists? Elder Qian walked over. Although he was smiling, his expression was provocative. Elder Qian frowned slightly, but maintained his composure. The Qiu family's thundercloud fists have always been formidable. Elder Qiu must have spent a lot of time and effort training him. I didn't spend much effort. Qiu Chen only practiced the thundercloud fists for half a year. It was just for him to train his arm strength, but his powers of comprehension were so great that he managed to reach the fifth heaven without much effort, Elder Qiu said with a laugh. He had reached the fifth heaven after training for half a year. What a boast! In his heart, Elder Qian smiled frostily but kept his expression neutral. If Elder Qiu was not exaggerating, then Qiu Chen must be extraordinarily talented. Chapter 1657, A Little Nervous. 1. Elder Qian and the others all knew that the Qiu family wanted to flaunt their strength, but the martial arts championship had only just begun, so victory was still uncertain. Oh look, someone from your Jiang family is entering the arena. Elder Qiu did not care that Elder Qian and the others were ignoring him. His eyes were fixed on the arena. A slender figure clothed in the Jiang family attire was slowly stepping onto the arena. Elder Qian and the others had intended to ignore Elder Qiu, but when they heard Elder Qiu suddenly say this, they subconsciously looked at the dais. Their hearts fell. At that moment, the person standing in the arena was Yi Qingtang, whom they couldn't help but be worried about. In the last few rounds, Elder Qian and the others had been too busy to bother about Yi Qingtang. Now Yi Qingtang was in the arena and the Qiu family elder happened to be standing next to them. The dismay on Elder Qian and the others' faces was almost palpable. Although they were already mentally prepared for Yi Qingtang to lose terribly, Elder Qiu was now keeping a close eye on them. They could not help but wince. If they lost very badly, Elder Qiu would taunt and mock the Jiang family with no mercy. Elder Qian and the others were mentally prepared to refute Elder Qiu's taunts, but the Jiang family youths had not performed well in the last few championships, while the Qiu family had done exceptionally well. So their retorts were rather half-hearted. At that moment, Elder Kun wished he could hint to Yi Qingtang to find an excuse not to compete. If she suffered a terrible defeat, their Jiang family's reputation would be in tatters. I already told you not to let her come. Now look, that jerk from the Chiu family is all prepared to mock us, Elder Kun murmured with a slight frown. Elder Qian was not looking too good either. Initially, Elder Kun and the others had suggested that Yi Qingtang excuse herself on grounds of poor health, and admit defeat because she was unable to enter the arena. But Elder Qian had refused. Elder Qian felt that Yi Qingtang had worked very hard for half a year. Wouldn't it be too cruel to deprive her of this opportunity? However, he had not expected Elder Chiu to be right next to him when Yi Qingtang entered the arena. Elder Chiu seemed to sense that something was amiss with the Jiang family elders. He could not help but glance at Yi Qingtang, who was in the arena. He saw an extremely beautiful girl with a slender figure, but she was otherwise unassuming. That girl doesn't look familiar. Is your family secretly hiding a trump card up its sleeve? Now that we're all here at the Martial Arts Championship, there's no need to conceal her anymore. Elder Chiu said with a laugh. His words sounded particularly sarcastic on the ears of Elder Qian and the others. How could she possibly be familiar? She had arrived less than half a year ago. Elder Qian and the others were only praying that Yi Qingtang would either be defeated in a single stroke, or hang on and swiftly concede defeat. That would be better than a lingering struggle in the arena, which would further embarrass the Jiang family. Outside the arena, Jiang Yixing, Jiang Xiaobai and the others were looking at Yi Qingtang, who was in the arena. They had no other concerns, and were sincerely cheering Yi Qingtang on. Although this girl's opponent is not very powerful, to her, he is a formidable opponent. I think she will be defeated within 3 moves, Jiang Yiran swaggered over and did not care to filter his words. No one will think you're mute if you don't say anything. Jiang Yixing looked fierce as he retorted. Chapter 1658, A Little Nervous, 2, Oh wow, you're so fierce. I only meant well. Jiang Yiran pursed his lips in the direction of Elder Qian and the others. Right now, the Chiu family elder is waiting for a good show. If the girl loses terribly, she will find it hard to give an account when she returns. It might be better for her to leave the arena early. Jiang Yixing glanced over and sure enough, he saw the smiling Elder Chiu and the Jiang family elders, who were all looking worried. He could not help but panic inwardly. On the other hand, Jiang Xiaobai was completely composed. She looked at Yi Qingtang with shining eyes. Opposite Yi Qingtang stood a slender, but rather ugly youth. Lin Weiyuan of the ancient Lin Lan clan. The youth cupped his fists and introduced himself. In response, Yi Qingtang raised her hands and said, Yi Qingtang from the Jiang family. Lin Weiyuan was startled. He wondered why Yi Qingtang had a different surname, but did not pay much attention to it. Go Qingtang. Jiang Yixing, who was standing outside the arena, was particularly anxious, possibly because of what Jiang Yiran had said. His cheers got louder and louder. Lin Weiyuan was at the second heaven of the heavenly venerate realm. How could Yi Qingtang compete with him? As Lin Weiyuan swept a glance at Jiang Yixing, who was wholeheartedly cheering Yi Qingtang on, he could not help but sneer. Miss Yi certainly has many admirers. Lin Weiyuan had been born ugly, and many people in his family had excluded him and mocked him because of his appearance. He had trained hard to become one of the top 20, and used his skills to prove himself. He despised those who only looked good, but who were otherwise useless. In contrast, Yi Qingtang had been born beautiful. Now many of the youths from her clan were cheering her when she entered the arena, which aroused Lin Weiyuan's contempt. Another pretty face, whose popularity was due to her looks. Of course Yi Qingtang could discern Lin Weiyuan's sarcasm. But when she glanced at Jiang Yixing, who was cheering her on, her eyes were smiling. To Yi Qingtang, the good wishes of her family were always precious. With that, Yi Qingtang looked away, then raised her gaze towards the disdainful Lin Weiyuan. A cold laugh came out from Lin Weiyuan. What a pity that in the arena, we are judged based on our skills and not our looks. If I accidentally disfigure your beautiful face, I hope you won't cry. Enchanting smiled and replied, I'm actually not worried about that. Oh. Enchanting glanced at Lin Weiyuan's face. Whether you disfigure me or not makes no difference. Lin Weiyuan's expression immediately turned sinister. She dared to call him ugly. Enchanting did not care about looks. 300 years of experience had allowed her to see through the empty shell of beauty. In her previous life, she had lived a long time with a plain face, but she had never allowed it to bother her. Instead, she felt that Lin Weiyuan's heart was even uglier than his face. Of course Enchanting would not allow him to have his way. You have a sharp tongue. Let's see whether you're still so quick with a retort after you've lost. A cold, vicious light flashed across Lin Weiyuan's eyes. He drew his sword and rushed forward. Whoosh! Lin Weiyuan charged with his sword. A wild wind blew around his legs. Elder Qian and the others on the dais were shocked. They could not help but look worried. She was finished. Who knew what the Enchanting had said to Lin Weiyuan? Why was Lin Weiyuan rushing forward so aggressively? Chapter 1659, A Little Nervous, 3. Lin Weiyuan struck out with his sword and Jiang Yixing and the others, who were outside the arena, shuddered. It was over. But just as everyone thought Enchanting could not avoid Lin Weiyuan's attack, Enchanting turned slightly and avoided Lin Weiyuan's sword with an unexpected dexterity. In the same move, she used her hand like a knife and chopped fiercely at the back of Lin Weiyuan's neck. Crash! Lin Weiyuan, who had been furiously charging towards her just a moment ago, now collapsed to the ground. The force of her blow caused his eyes to roll back in his head. His ugly face twitched and looked even more sinister. Jiang Yixing, who had been so anxious, was completely bewildered. What was going on? Beside him, Jiang Yiran was also perplexed. He was certain that Enchanting would be defeated ignominiously, but who knew? She had knocked Lin Weiyuan out with one blow. Wasn't that too incredible? Elder Qian and the others seated on the dais were also stunned for a long moment. Then their anxiety turned into delight. Enchanting had won. Had she really won? The anxious expressions of Elder Qian and the others were now replaced by broad smiles. They seemed even happier than when Jiang Yenyun had won. But Elder Qiu was expressionless. Lin Weiyuan of the ancient Lin Lan clan was one of the weakest of various ancient clans. Even within his Qiu family, any one of them could easily defeat him. However, Elder Qiu could not help but frown when he saw how delighted Elder Qian and the others were. Why were the Jiang family elders so happy when she beat one of the weakest members of the ancient Lin Lan clan? Elder Qiu had already anticipated that Lin Weiyuan would lose this match. After all, the ancient Lin Lan clan was weaker than the other ancient clans, and he was one of the least powerful members of his clan. The match had no element of suspense. Could it be that the Jiang family had really fallen so far? Was it simply that they were so overjoyed at beating someone like Lin Weiyuan? Perhaps that was the case. Elder Qiu's contempt towards the Jiang family immediately grew a little. That girl's skills were merely average. But look how elated the Jiang family was. What a farce. Many of the other ancient clans had also glanced at the match. But the results were wholly expected and no one was surprised. Only the Jiang family felt as if they had won a prize. I thought that Enchanting was certain to lose. Who knew? Elder Kun's face had a trace of a smile, which was unusual for him. She has worked harder than anyone else for the past 6 months. It must be that after she returned to the Jiang family, the domain monarch founder taught her a little before she left. But she certainly has not wasted our efforts. Elder Qian was smiling. He was the only one who had insisted that Yi Qingtang try her skills at the martial arts championship, so Yi Qingtang's victory naturally made him look good. To anyone outside, it was natural that Yi Qingtang, as a member of the Jiang family, had beaten Lin Weiyuan. But only Elder Qian and the others knew that Yi Qingtang had returned to the Jiang family only half a year ago. She had only become one of the Jiang family's top 20 based on pure luck. It was a complete surprise when she defeated a disciple from another ancient clan. On the dais, Lin Weiyuan was in a dead faint. Yi Qingtang had won this fight. Jiang Yixing cheered and rushed towards Yi Qingtang as she left the arena. Qingtang, I knew it. You're the best. When the youths from the other ancient clans heard his tones of sincere delight, they all thought Jiang Yixing was a fool. How could she be considered one of the best after beating someone like Lin Weiyuan? Little girl, you're not too bad, you knew how to catch him unawares. Did you purposely make him angry? Jiang Yiran had not expected Yi Qingtang to win. When he recalled that Yi Qingtang had enraged Lin Weiyuan before the latter had struck, he thought that it was part of Yi Qingtang's strategy. She purposely infuriated her opponent, then seized the opportunity to strike. Cunning. How cunning. Chapter 1660, Beauty Role, 1, Bullshit. Qingtang won based on her skills. What do you mean by catching him unaware? Jiang Yixing scoffed. Whatever you say. Jiang Yiran rolled his eyes at Jiang Yixing. Yi Qingtang's victory over Lin Weiyuan was unexpected to the youths in the Jiang family. But on another thought, that Lin Weiyuan was not considered highly skilled, and because of this, they did not find it too strange that Yi Qingtang won. Everyone would only have one round of sparring in the martial arts championship, and they were free to rest once their round ended. This was the last match of the day. Most of the people from the Jiang family passed their round, while only a handful were unlucky to meet formidable opponents and failed to advance. All in all, Elder Qian and the others were pretty satisfied with the results from the first day. The matches for the second day were to be decided by drawing lots, thus everyone was still unfamiliar with their next opponent. After the matches, Yi Qingtang and the rest looked for a place to indulge in a meal. As everyone from the various ancient clans were on the island of immortal footsteps, all eateries and lodgings are also within the boundaries. When they arrived at the island of immortal footsteps restaurant, it was already exceptionally packed. Most of the youths from all the ancient clans were gathered here to have a good meal. Of course, the victors were joyous while the losers were not in the mood and were silently nursing their emotional pain in their rooms. Squeezing through the crowd, Yi Qingtang and the group found an empty table at a corner and sat down. Jiang Xiaobai ordered plenty of dishes at once and subsequently sprawled on the table as though he was about to fall asleep anytime soon. On the other hand, Jiang Yixing and the others were boasting about their impressive performances in the arena. All of a sudden, there was a sudden flurry of excitement in the restaurant and many people looked out of the restaurant. Always one to get in on the action, Jiang Yixing could not help but follow the crowd to look out as well, only to almost salivate. Mu Feiruo. It's Mu Feiruo. My goddess. Outside the restaurant was a cool and elegant lady in cyan clothes, who was escorted into the restaurant by a crowd of people. Despite the large crowd of people revolving around her, Mu Feiruo remained expressionless as though she was not involved in this boisterous situation. Beside Mu Feiruo was a sweet-looking girl who was all smiles. The girl bore some resemblance with Mu Feiruo, but both had completely different dispositions. Is that Mu Ruxue? A youth from the Jiang family asked when he saw that pretty girl. It should be. Mu Ruxue is Mu Ruxue's younger sister. I heard that she is very talented as well and that she will be displaying her skills in the martial arts championship this year. Although she does look quite similar to my goddess is still the prettiest to me. Jiang Yixing was smitten and his saliva was drooping as he stared at Mu Firuo's aloof face. When paired with this love-struck expression, his normally attractive facial features were truly wasted and all the group felt about him was disgust. Mu Firuo went to the second floor of the restaurant quickly and happened to sit not far away from Jiang Yixing. As Jiang Yixing had adored Mu Firuo for a long time, he was ecstatic to be able to interact with her at such close distance and stared at his goddess face to the best of his abilities from his seat in the corner. How can there be such a beautiful lady in the world? Jiang Yixing was completely besotted. As he was caught up in his staring, there was suddenly a slap on his head and he immediately turned around with a glare. Chapter 1661, Beauty Roll 2, wipe that disgusting look off your face before someone sees it and you embarrass the Jiang family. Jiang Yiran and a few of the other Jiang family youths walked over. They looked disdainful when they saw Jiang Yixing's besotted expression. What's it to you? Why do you keep stalking me? Jiang Yixing was infuriated. Oh, whatever do you mean? It should be me that's asking why you keep appearing before my eyes. You're hurting them. Jiang Yiran did not give an inch. Jiang Yixing glared at him. He could not be bothered to quibble with the latter. It was a rare chance to be near Mu Firuo, so he would not waste any time on this scum. Is Mu Firuo that beautiful? Jiang Yiran glanced at Mu Firuo. Although he thought she was not bad-looking, she was not stunning. Of course. Mu Firuo was the most beautiful girl in the last martial arts championship, Jiang Yixing said frankly. Jiang Yiran smiled before he cast a sly glance at Enchanting, who was sitting nearby. I think her younger sister, Mu Rishue, is much better looking. But, don't you think that this little girl is even prettier than Mu Firuo and Mu Rishue? Enchanting, please let me off. If she had known that Jiang Yiran would hold a grudge for so long, she would not have fought him earlier. He was such a pest. Jiang Yixing was about to protest, but when he saw that Enchanting did not look provoked, he calmed down. Objectively speaking, Enchanting was definitely a rare beauty. No matter how hard Jiang Yixing tried, he could not find a single flaw in Enchanting's features. Xiaobai, what do you think? Jiang Yiran said with a laugh. Jiang Xiaobai's head was on the table and he lazily raised his eyes. Unusual. Jiang Yiran did not understand. Jiang Xiaobai said, "You've finally said something sensible." Jiang Yiran felt his chest ache. Why was this fellow's tongue so wicked? Elder sister Qing is the most beautiful. Jiang Xiaobai looked smilingly at Enchanting, his sharp tongue practically dripping with honey. Please completely ignore Enchanting. Thank you. Jiang Yiran rubbed his chest and replied, I heard that during every martial arts championship, besides a ranking of abilities, there is also a beauty ranking. They identify the most beautiful girl in the martial arts championship. Mu Firuo came in first in the last championship. I think this time, the little girl has a chance. By now, Enchanting really wanted to kick Jiang Yiran. Jiang Yiran and the others were still making mocking comments when Mu Rishue, who was sitting nearby, suddenly looked in their direction. What's the matter? Bailey Xianyun was sitting with Mu Rishue and Mu Firuo, and he could not help but ask when he saw the direction of Mu Ruxu's glance. Bailey Xianyun ranked as the 10th most powerful figure in the last martial arts championship. It was because of this that he was friendly with Mu Firuo. It was no surprise that Bailey Xianyun liked Mu Firuo looks and the Mu family's power, so he intended to develop a closer relationship with her. But Mu Firuo was cold by nature, and it had not been easy. At that point, Mu Rishue had turned up. Mu Rishue was Mu Firo's younger sister and the apple of the Mu family master's eye. Although she was not as talented as Mu Feiruo, she was slightly younger and much more lively. So Bailey Xianyun had decided to target Mu Rishue instead. Bailey Xianyun was proud of his own talents and his position in the Bailey family was fairly high. But he was always being repressed by Bailey Shi. This made him discontented, so he intended to find another way out. Chapter 1662, Beauty Role 3. Bailey Xianyun was currently taking the opportunity to draw close to Mu Rishue, so it was no surprise that all his attention was on her. I saw an irritating fly that kept buzzing. It's so noisy. Mu Rukshu's elegant brow furrowed. She glanced at Yi Qingtang's features and a look of displeasure flashed across her eyes. Bailey Xianyun followed Mu Rukshu's gaze and saw a group of youths from the Jiang family who seemed to be discussing something. With their current abilities, no word in this restaurant could escape their ears if they so chose. But they usually did not bother to pay attention to others. When she thought of the Jiang family's nasty comments, Mu Rishue grew unhappy. If younger sister Rishue thinks it's too noisy here, we can eat somewhere else next time. Bailey Xianyun smiled, and tried to appear as gracious as possible. Which clan is at that table? Mu Rishue asked. The domain monarch's Jiang family. Jiang family, Mu Rishue paused, then her lips curled in amusement. Right now, the Jiang family is only supported by the domain monarch himself. The Jiang family hasn't produced anyone outstanding for years. It doesn't matter whether they participate in this martial arts championship or not. Bailey Xianyun also smiled. Right now, the Jiang family was experiencing a gap in their talents. Of the older generation, only the domain monarch was outstanding, but the younger generation could not compete with the youths of the other ancient clans. They had slowly become a laughing stock at the martial arts championships. Elder brother Xianyun, don't you agree? Mu Rishue raised her eyes and looked at Bailey Xianyun expectantly. In response, Bailey Xianyun only nodded with an indulgent smile. Beside them, Mu Feiruo had remained silent all this while, but her glance swept over Mu Rishue, Yi Qingtang, and the others at her table. She knew Mu Rishue all too well, and she already knew what Mu Rishue was thinking. Elder brother Xianyun, is there a beauty ranking during the martial arts championship? Mu Rishue suddenly asked. There is something like that, but it's just a foolish thing that the youths of the different clans do in their free time. It's not anything formal. Although it was just something that was judged privately, everyone recognized it. Mu Feiruo had come in top in the beauty ranking, which was why her reputation for beauty had spread through the entire mainland. She had even been called the most beautiful woman in the central mainland. Mu Rukshu's eyes flickered. She was confident that she was more beautiful than anyone else. Even the frosty Mu Feiruo could not compare with her. As for any others, Mu Rishue glanced at Yi Qingtang and a disdainful smile appeared in her eyes. At that moment, the beautiful sounds of a zither rang out in the restaurant. A beautiful young girl was sitting by the window, softly caressing the strings of a zither. The light filtered through the window and illuminated her, making her look incredibly beautiful. All the youths from the various ancient clans were eating in the restaurant. At the moment, they all looked over and admired the sight of a beautiful girl playing the zither. The beauty ranking that younger sister Rishue mentioned has just started, Bailey Xianyun said with a smile. What do you mean? Mu Rishue looked baffled. Bailey Xianyun explained, the beauty ranking usually begins after the matches have ended. All the girls who wish to participate will display their looks at a place where the various clans are gathered. Look, that girl hasn't said a word, but when she started playing the zither, everyone focused their attention on her, and naturally they would also notice her looks. To be considered the most beautiful woman in the martial arts championship was akin to being acknowledged as the most beautiful woman in central mainland. Naturally, all the young girls from the various clans were happy to compete. Chapter 1663. Careless Words Cause Trouble. 1. Murishua glanced at the girl plucking her delicate fingers over the zither. Although she was unusually beautiful, her looks were far inferior. Muruksha's lips curled and she took a jade flute from her space ring and began to play it. The beautiful sound of the flute mingled with that of the zither, and everyone looked at Murishua. All the youths were amazed when they saw her extraordinary beauty. Given that the matches during the martial arts championship were so intense, no one would go out of their way to notice someone's looks. Only now could they relax and admire them. The girl playing the zither soon realized that everyone's gaze was fixed on Murishua. When she saw Muruksha's beauty, and that she was from the Mu family, she decided to retreat and her zither slowly trailed away. This martial arts championship is so interesting. Do the girls of the various ancient clans all pursue such leisurely activities? They must be so carefree. Jiang Yuran propped his chin on one hand and muttered to himself as he looked at this strange competition. But Murishua is exceptionally beautiful. She's still not as good-looking as my goddess. Jiang Yixing was adamant and would not be swayed. Jiang Xiaobai glanced at Jiang Yixing with a strange expression. Enchanting was not at all interested in who was the most beautiful, or the beauty ranking. She was completely focused on the martial arts championship. With her skills, she should be able to manage the next few matches. But if she wanted to be one of the top 10, she had to enter the fourth heaven of the heavenly venerate realm. But now, her abilities seemed to have stopped advancing. This troubled Yi Qingtang greatly. The beauty rankings were created by a secret ballot. If anyone felt that a girl was particularly beautiful, he could write her name down and put it in a wooden box in the restaurant. On the last day, the box would be opened and the votes counted. Under the influence of Muruksha's flute, many of them intended to write down her name. I thought that Mu Feirua was already an exceptional beauty. I did not realize that this Murishua would be even more exquisite. I think that Murishua will certainly claim the title of the most beautiful girl this year. I heard that Murishua is extremely talented, no less so than Mu Feirua. The youths had nothing better to do, so they started to murmur among themselves. Murishua contentedly watched the crowd's reaction. Her lips curved in a satisfied smile. By now, Jiang Xiaobai had lost interest in his food when he saw Muruksha's attitude. He suddenly got up, dragging Yi Qingtang with him. Elder sister Qing, let's go back. Yi Qingtang also wanted to leave early to cultivate, so she immediately rose and left with Jiang Xiaobai. When Yi Qingtang first arrived, the youths from the various ancient clans who were in the restaurant were busy chatting, and no one had noticed her in the crowd. But at that moment, everyone's attention was focused on Murishua. Yi Qingtang and the others were seated near her, and when Jiang Xiaobai and Yi Qingtang rose to leave, they appeared in everyone's line of sight. Ah, who is that? So irritating. Don't block our view, a youth could not help but shout. But just as his words left his mouth, he did a double take. He saw a gorgeous young girl slowly walking towards the stairs. The girl was absolutely expressionless. In fact, her elegant brow was slightly furrowed. It wrung their hearts to see the cares that she bore on her brow. If Muruksha's looks could be compared to the bright sun, radiant and dazzling, then this girl's looks were like a lonely orchid in a deserted valley. Her appearance caused everything around her to vanish, leaving only the unforgettable image of her beauty. Chapter 1664. Careless Words Cause Trouble. 2. Many noticed Yi Qingtang. A single glance was sufficient for them to exclaim over her beauty. For a moment, a strange silence blanketed the entire restaurant. Yi Qingtang did not notice. Her eyes were lowered as she considered how to pass through the threshold of the next stage. Instead, It was Jiang Xiaobai who noticed that everyone's focus had fallen on Enchanting. Jiang Xiaobai immediately frowned and he quickened his steps as he dragged Enchanting along, before they swiftly disappeared from sight. A beautiful girl had left, leaving behind only images of her loveliness. The youths could not help but continue gazing in her direction. When Mu Ruxiu saw this, she almost snapped the jade flute in her hand. Younger sister Ruxiue. Bailey Xianyun had been observing Mu Ruxiu closely, and had not seen the others leave. Mu Ruxiu bit her lips. She angrily turned her face, looking annoyed. Who was she? That girl only had to walk past the crowd to attract their attention. Was she any less beautiful than that girl? Bailey Xianyun was completely befuddled by Mu Ruxiu's apparent irritation. He subconsciously looked around and saw everyone's reaction, and the disappearing figure. His eyes flickered as comprehension dawned. Younger sister Ruxiue, if anyone has annoyed you, I will make her unhappy too, Bailey Xianyun suddenly said with a smile. Mu Ruxiue frowned slightly and glanced at Bailey Xianyun. What do you mean? Younger sister Ruxiue, why compare yourself with commoners? They may be good-looking, but what use is that to them? They probably won't last more than a few more rounds. Younger sister Ruxiue, you are not only gorgeous, but also much more talented than most girls. Why compare yourself with others? Bailey Xianyun assured her with a smile. Bailey Xianyun's words caused Mu Ruxiu's brow to smoothen out. Nearby, Mu Feiruo looking on coldly, and did not say a word. Early the next day, they drew lots as usual. Enchanting drew an opponent whose abilities were similar to Lin Weiyuan, and was one of the bottom few in the martial arts championship. With yesterday's battle behind them, the worried elder Qian and his companions were slightly more relaxed. Jiang Yixing drew a person whose abilities were on par with his. He glanced at Jiang Yiran's opponent and burst out laughing. Huh, you're actually fighting Mu Ruxiue. Your luck is just too good. Jiang Yixing did not even try to hide his amusement. With the exception of Mu Feiruo, Mu Ruxiue was the most powerful person in the Mu family. Rumor had it that Mu Ruxiue was as talented as Mu Feiruo. If she were not a few years younger, with her talent, she would certainly be one of the top 10, or even the top 5 in the martial arts championship. Even so, Mu Ruxiu's current abilities were already terrifying. While Jiang Yixing was in a good mood, but Jiang Yiran looked gloomy. He had not expected to draw Mu Ruxiu's lot. Although he was confident in his own abilities, Jiang Yiran was well aware of the disparity between himself and Mu Ruxiue. With Mu Ruxiu's abilities, she was probably on par with Jiang Yenyun or Jiang Xiaobai. How unlucky! Jiang Yiran felt he had been extremely unfortunate to get Mu Ruxiue in the second round. Yi Qingtang's batch was one of the first ones, and it was soon her turn to enter the arena. Her opponent this time was similar to her previous opponent, so it was easy to beat him. Elder Qian and the others had some idea of her abilities now and were not too surprised. They felt that Yi Qingtang's luck was pretty good, as both her opponents were not too powerful. This allowed her to have more practice as she competed in the martial arts championship. Chapter 1665, Careless Words Cause Trouble, 3. It was soon Jiang Yiran's turn to enter the arena. Mu Ruxiue was dressed in a long, pink dress and looked exquisite. As Jiang Yiran took in her slender figure, he was completely on high alert, his entire focus on his opponent. Mu Ruxiue soon made her move. As she raised her sword, the light glittered off it, forming a magnificent display. She looked as if she was poised to dance. Meanwhile, Jiang Yiran was fighting hard. Mu Ruxiu's moves looked casual, but every one of them was lethal. After exchanging a few blows, Jiang Yiran was hard-pressed into a disadvantageous position. Isn't that fellow, Jiang Yiran, usually very arrogant? How come he's losing so fast now that he's fighting Mu Ruxiue? Jiang Yixing was somewhat surprised as he watched the match. In Taiyuan Valley, Jiang Yiran's abilities were top-notch. In the entire Taiyuan Valley, there were few who could beat him. They had not expected him to be forced into a tight corner so soon when fighting Mu Rushue. Enchanting inwardly exclaimed as she watched Mu Rushue fight. Mu Ruxue's abilities were truly exceptional. No wonder she was the second most powerful figure in the Mu family. Jiang Yiran was probably no match for her. In the arena, Jiang Yiran also realized the disparity between himself and Mu Rushue. He suddenly realized that Mu Ruxue's blows were coming hard and fast, aggressively raining down on him one after another. It even looked as if she wanted to kill him. How had he offended Mu Rushue? Why was she fighting so viciously? Jiang Yiran was puzzled, but Mu Rushue did not give him any chances. After many moves, Jiang Yiran sustained multiple injuries. Just as Jiang Yiran was about to admit defeat, Mu Ruxue's sword suddenly sliced at Jiang Yiran's eyes and he broke out in cold sweat. Instinctively, he raised his hand to block the sword and received a bone-deep gash across his arm. How have I offended you, that you want to blind me? Jiang Yiran was enraged as he glared furiously at Mu Rushue. Mu Rushue laughed coldly and looked at Jiang Yiran mockingly. You're already blind. You can't even distinguish the ugly from the beautiful. I might as well destroy your eyes. What did that mean? Jiang Yiran was puzzled. He suddenly remembered how he had teased Enchanting yesterday, and how he had said that Mu Rushue and Mu Feiruo were not as beautiful as Enchanting. So that was why Mu Rushue was trying to kill him. It was just a few joking words, but she remembered them and hated him for it. Mu Rushue did not give Jiang Yiran any time to breathe. She raised her sword and advanced once again. Jiang Yiran was already injured, and after a few more moves, Mu Rushue forced him out of the arena. Just as Jiang Yiran fell out of the arena, Mu Ruxue's sword breath suddenly flew towards his eyes. She was clearly determined to blind Jiang Yiran. At that instant, Jiang Yanyan's figure appeared in front of Jiang Yiran. He raised his sword and dispersed Mu Ruxue's sword breath, but even so the force of it caused his chest to go numb. Mu Rushue stood proudly in the arena. She snorted softly, then turned to leave. Thank you, elder brother Yun. Jiang Yiran stood up painfully. If Jiang Yanyan had not acted, that vicious woman would have definitely blinded him. Jiang Yiran, what happened to you? Jiang Yixing meant to seize the opportunity to insult Jiang Yiran, but when he saw Jiang Yiran's sorry state, the words stuck in his throat. Jiang Yiran laughed bitterly. His gaze fell on Enchanting, who was next to Jiang Yixing. Well, I was teasing you the other day and that lunatic now bears a grudge against me. Little girl, you had better watch out. Jiang Yiran had not expected his careless words to almost get him killed. Enchanting was taken aback, then recalled Jiang Yiran's teasing words from before. Jiang Yiran had spoken thoughtlessly, and no one had paid much attention to it. Had Mu Rushue acted so viciously just because of that? What do you mean? What does Mu Rushue trying to kill you have to do with Enchanting? Jiang Yixing was confused. Jiang Yiran glared at Jiang Yixing. Why won't you believe me when I say you're stupid? SSS, Jiang Yiran suddenly cried out in pain. Ugh, I can't be bothered to explain it to you. I was too careless with my words, and somehow offended that lunatic. Chapter 1666, A Bet. 1. Jiang Yixing still wanted to ridicule Jiang Yiran a little more, but when he saw Jiang Yiran's downtrodden state, he swallowed his words. Meanwhile in the spectator area, Elder Qian and the others were a little regretful when they saw that Jiang Yiran had lost. Mu Rushue is truly as talented as she is rumored to be. Jiang Yiran is one of the exceptionally talented youths in the Jiang family, but he was no match for her. Elder Qian sighed quietly. Probably only Jiang Yenyun and Jiang Xiaobai are able to compete with Mu Rushue. But it looks like there are many talented figures in this martial arts championship. I really can't tell how things will go. Elder Kun also looked helpless. This year, they had pinned all their hopes on Jiang Yenyun and Jiang Xiaobai. If even the two of them could not get into the top 10, then the Jiang family's reputation would take a hit. The second round of matches were not as lighthearted. Many Jiang family members lost. Jiang Yiran might have lost that day, but unlike the other losers, he did not stay in his room and sulk. Instead, he followed Yi Qingtang and the others to eat. He tagged along until Jiang Yixing was so irritated he wanted to kick Jiang Yiran away. Get lost, get lost. Leave us alone. Go look for your Jiang Yenyun. Why are you here to make trouble for us? Jiang Yixing shooed him away as he would a chick. Jiang Yiran still smiled cheekily and said, Elder brother Yun is not leaving his room for the next few days in order to prepare for the upcoming matches. We are all from the same family, why can't we have a meal together? Can't you see I'm injured? Where's your sympathy? No wonder your female goddess doesn't like you. Oh, actually, to be precise, your female goddess hasn't even noticed you. Jiang Yixing was so angry he wanted to strangle him. If not for the fact that he was no match for Jiang Yiran, he would certainly fight him. Jiang Yiran sat at their table, forcefully squeezing his way in. He looked at Yi Qingtang, who was waiting for her food next to him, and he winked at her meaningfully. Little girl, I put your name in the box just now. Yi Qingtang's eyes widened slightly. She vaguely remembered that the votes in the box represented the beauty ranking. What was he up to? Please let me off. That lunatic must have something wrong with her brain. She's so ugly. I would rather vote for a pig than vote for her. Jiang Yiran was furious with Mu Rushue, who had tried to kill him. Yi Qingtang, who had been called pig for no reason, silently glared at Jiang Yiran. She really wanted to kick him down the stairs. Was he complimenting her or scolding her? What did you say? Before Yi Qingtang could kick Jiang Yiran, a shrill female voice rang out. Jiang Yiran turned and saw that Mu Rushue had entered the restaurant at some point. At that moment, Mu Rukshu's beautiful little face was completely distorted. She had clearly overheard Jiang Yiran's words. Since Jiang Yiran had already lost and they weren't in the arena, he had nothing to fear. He looked at Mu Rukshu's furious face and said evilly, "What I said is none of your business. What's the matter? Does the Mu family want to control what other people say? You jerk, how dare you insult me?" Mu Rushue had always been treasured and praised. How could she bear it when Jiang Yiran insulted her and said she was not even comparable to a pig? Chapter 1667, A Bet, 2, Who has the time to scold you? I'm scolding the lunatic. Does Miss Mu think she is the lunatic? Jiang Yiran raised his brow fearlessly. Mu Rushue quivered with rage at his insolence. Jiang Yiran felt even better when he saw Mu Rukshu's livid expression. He spoke again, "Everyone can vote as they please in the beauty rankings. I think our family's Qingtang is gorgeous. What business is it of yours if I vote for her? Do you have a problem if I think she's the prettiest? Do you think you're very beautiful? Let's see if you're prettier than the little girl." Yi Qingtang, who had been targeted out of the blue, she had made a mistake. She should have kicked Jiang Yiran down the stairs long ago. Then he would not be here, making enemies for her like a crazy person. Yi Qingtang looked at Mu Rukshu's livid face and the startled glances of the diners. She wondered if Jiang Yiran was trying to kill two birds with one stone. Like this, he would pay Mu Rushue back and also annoy her at the same time. Who is she to compete with me? Mu Rushue laughed coldly. Yi Qingtang, Yes, 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 you are the most beautiful person in the world. You're so amazingly beautiful, alright. Ah, you're so funny. In what way is our Tang Tang unfit to compete with you? Your looks are far inferior to that of our Tang Tang. Do you want to top the beauty ranking? Do you want to be the most beautiful girl in the martial arts championship? Dream on. Wait and see. On the last day, the most beautiful girl will be our Tang Tang. Mu Rishue had almost blinded Jiang Yiran. He certainly would not forgive her for that. Even if he could not beat Mu Rishue, he would annoy her to death. Mu Rishue had clearly become Jiang Yiran's #1 enemy. Yi Qingtang broke out in goosebumps as he repeatedly called her Tang Tang. Jiang Xiaobai was sitting nearby and his expression also darkened. If circumstances had permitted, Yi Qingtang would have struck Jiang Yiran down with a sword. This devil was making trouble. Ah, Mu Rishue was so angry that she laughed instead. I have never been afraid to compete with someone based on looks. Mu Rishue looked at Yi Qingtang and she proudly raised her chin in provocation. Yi Qingtang. Well, wait and see who tops the beauty ranking on the last day. Then let's see. I'm just afraid you won't be able to compete. Jiang Yiran replied with vim. What happens if you lose? If I lose, I will publicly disfigure myself and be ugly for the rest of my life, Mu Rishue snapped out in spite. If anything, Jiang Yiran was even more delighted with her declaration. All right. Then if she loses, she must do the same. Mu Rishue pointed at Yi Qingtang. Yi Qingtang was about to refuse this ridiculous bet, but Jiang Yiran answered first. No problem. Oh. Who is so brave as to make this kind of bet with Rishue? An amused voice suddenly rang out. Everyone turned towards the sound. At some point, Bailey Xianyun had appeared in the restaurant, and Mu Feiruo was standing next to him. Everyone was stunned. Mu Rishue grew even more furious when she saw Bailey Xianyun and Mu Feiruo. She pointed to Yi Qingtang, who had been silent all this time, and spat out, her. Yi Qingtang felt that if she kept quiet any longer, Jiang Yiran would get her into even worse trouble. So she said, I'm not interested in this bet, and I also have no interest in the beauty rankings. You're the most beautiful person in the world, all right. She had no interest in comparing herself with others. Chapter 1668, A Bet, 3. Even though Yi Qingtang had spoken, Mu Rishue had no intention of letting her off. Why? Are you scared now that you've seen elder brother Xianyun and my elder sister? Where's your pride? Yi Qingtang, let me tell you, I, Mu Rishue, have already agreed to this bet. So you have to bet as well, whether you want to or not. Sorry, please excuse me, Yi Qingtang said. Mu Rishue was even more angry, but Bailey Xianyun pulled her back. Younger sister Rishue, since she has some self-awareness, there is no need to force her. But, Mu Rishue refused to concede. Bailey Xianyun smiled and looked at Yi Qingtang dismissively. Miss, since you don't want to bet, we won't force you. But just now, all of you bullied Rishue with your careless words, so we can't just let the matter drop. We're not unreasonable people. If you are unwilling to gamble, then just admit that you've lost and disfigure yourself now. Then we won't make things difficult for you anymore. Bailey Xianyun sounded polite, but his words were infuriating. What did you say? Who are you to make Qingtang disfigure herself? Jiang Yixing immediately lost his temper. Bailey Xianyun smiled, but was indifferent to Jiang Yixing's rage. It's all right if you don't want to disfigure yourself. If you can beat me, we will drop the matter. Bailey Xianyun deliberately pretended to be generous. By now, the faces of Jiang Yixing and the others immediately darkened to a pitch black. In contrast, Mu Rishue looked incredibly smug. Beat Bailey Xianyun. What kind of joke was this? Bailey Xianyun had been one of the top 10 in the last martial arts championship. Over the past few years, he had grown from strength to strength. Now in the entire Jiang family, probably only Jiang Yenyun and Jiang Xiaobai could match him. The rest did not even dare to think about it. Enchanting had only come to the valley half a year ago, and was the last of the Jiang family's top 20. Fighting Bailey Xianyun would be akin to seeking her own death. That's as good as not saying anything. You're just forcing Qingtang to disfigure herself. Jiang Yixing had never met anyone as shameless as Bailey Xianyun. How dare he make such a request? I've already said that I don't want to make things difficult for her. I've already given you 2 choices, you can make your own decision. Or can it be that your Jiang family's younger generation has declined to the point that you don't even have the courage to fight someone? Bailey Xianyun said mockingly. No one had anticipated this turn of events. Jiang Yiran was also taken aback. He just wanted to annoy Mu Rishue, but had forgotten that he was also getting Yi Qingtang into deep trouble. Put on the spot like this, Jiang Yiran was embarrassed. Although he was always needling Yi Qingtang, he was really innocent this time. His sole purpose had been to annoy Mu Rishue, and he had forgotten that the crucial person in this bet was Yi Qingtang and not himself. And then Bailey Xianyun had appeared and blown up the incident even further. I was the one who spoke carelessly, and I was also the one who made the bet. I caused this incident. If you're displeased, I'll apologize to you now. Jiang Yiran gritted his teeth as he suddenly stood up and spoke up. Although he was proud and rather perverse, he was no coward. Now that he had created trouble, he would not allow Yi Qingtang to take the blame. Chapter 1669, In Trouble, 1, Bailey Xianyun swept a glance towards Jiang Yiran and laughed frostily. Apologize. I'm afraid your apology doesn't carry enough weight. But if you are willing to publicly kneel and kowtow to younger sister Rishue 3 times, perhaps I will consider it. You. Jiang Yiran's expression darkened at Bailey Xuanyun's words. Even Jiang Yixing and the others felt that Bailey Xianyun was going too far. Fine. I'll kneel. Jiang Yiran gritted his teeth. He had brought about this trouble, so he would accept the consequences. Gathering his robes, Jiang Yiran prepared to kneel. Jiang Yiran, what are you doing? Jiang Yixing was growing frantic. Yi Qingtang frowned slightly. Although she felt that Jiang Yiran had caused her a lot of trouble, he was being forced to kneel, and that was not an outcome that she desired either. At that moment, Yi Qingtang suddenly stepped forward and grabbed Jiang Yiran's arm, preventing his knees from touching the ground. What's the matter? Come to a decision. Bailey Xianyun sneered coldly. Yi Qingtang narrowed her eyes. A cold light flashed across her eyes, mirroring the gleam in Jiang Xiaobai's. He was about to rise when another figure beat him to it. Jiang Yiran, stand up, a cold command rang out. Jiang Yiran raised his eyes and saw that Jiang Yenyun had arrived at some point and was standing in front of them. At that moment, Jiang Yanyun's expression was as frosty as an iceberg and he considered Bailey Xianyun coldly. Is this what the Jiang family rules are like? They don't dare to take responsibility for their actions. If you're really afraid, then just stay at home and don't come out to embarrass yourself, Bailey Xianyun sneered. Jiang Yanyun's gaze swept over Jiang Yiran, who lowered his head in shame. Turning his gaze away, he said, Bailey Xianyun, if you want to fight, I will challenge you in 3 days. Everyone was shocked by Jiang Yanyun's words. In 3 days, the final results of the martial arts championship would be announced. Then, the top 10 from this championship could challenge the top 10 of the last championship. What Jiang Yenyun meant was that he planned to challenge Bailey Xianyun. At that moment, everyone was stunned. Elder brother Yun, Jiang Yiran was ashen. He knew he was in huge trouble. Bailey Xianyun laughed. All right. I'll be waiting for you in 3 days. Jiang Yangyun, I hear that you're the most powerful of your generation in the Jiang family. If you lose, does it mean that your entire Jiang family is a pile of trash? But, that's already common knowledge. I shall look forward to it. Haha, Bailey Xianyun chuckled as he turned to leave with Mu Rushue. Mu Feiruo frowned slightly. She seemed about to say something, but in the end, she remained silent and left the restaurant. Elder brother Yun, this is all my fault. Please beat me. Jiang Yiran knew he had really messed up. Not only had he gotten Yi Qingtang into trouble, he had even dragged Jiang Yenyun into this mess. Jiang Yenyun glared at Jiang Yiran. Then he suddenly raised his hand and simply swept it across Jiang Yiran's head. Scram! Go back and cultivate. With his eyes red, Jiang Yiran silently nodded and glanced apologetically at Yi Qingtang before leaving without a word. Yi Qingtang was inwardly conflicted. She had not expected this turn of affairs. Jiang Yiran caused today's trouble. I hope you won't take it to heart, Jiang Yenyun said as he looked at Yi Qingtang. Chapter 1670, In Trouble, 2, Yi Qingtang shook her head. Although Jiang Yiran's ability to make enemies had rendered her speechless, she had not taken it to heart. Yi Qingtang had also been shocked when Jiang Yiran prepared to kneel publicly in order to settle the matter, which was why she had immediately moved to stop him. Regardless of the conflict within the Jiang family, they must remain unified against outsiders. How could she allow a Jiang family youth to kneel to someone else? Jiang Yenyun did not say anything else, but just left the restaurant. Tut tut, Jiang Yiran has certainly gotten into huge trouble this time. He even needs Jiang Yenyun to help him out of this mess, Jiang Yixing said with feeling. Jiang Yenyun was already going to be one of the top 10. Challenging Bailey Xianyun is a given, Jiang Xiaobai remarked lazily. Even without this incident, Jiang Yanyun's target would still be the same. Now that you've said it, that makes sense. Jiang Xiaobai glanced at the other in disdain and did not say anything else. But Yi Qingtang felt that matters were not so simple. Of course Bailey Xianyun knew Jiang Yanyun's intentions. But Bailey Zuanyun's attitude had been extremely arrogant. Either he was unaware of Jiang Yanyun's abilities, or he had a trump card that assured him of victory. Because of Jiang Yiran's affair, news of Jiang Yenyun and Bailey Zuanyun's match reached the upper echelons of the Jiang and Bailey families. If Jiang Yenyun lost, the Jiang family would never be able to hold its head up in the presence of the Bailey family again. Younger sister Rushue, why do you still look so unhappy? Meanwhile, Bailey Xianyun was speaking to the unhappy-looking Mu Rushue. Mu Rushue said, Elder brother Xianyun, why did you let the Yi Qingtang off like that? Who cares if Jiang Yenyun wins or loses? I just can't stand Yi Qingtang's face. Mu Rushue was clearly displeased with how Bailey Xianyun had handled the matter. In response, Bailey Xianyun laughed and coaxed her, younger sister Rushue, that's not true. I've already said that I will only let Yi Qingtang off if Jiang Yenyun beats me. If he loses, Yi Qingtang will have to abide by the agreement and disfigure herself. Mu Rukshu's eyes brightened at Bailey Zuanyun's words. Elder brother Xianyun, are you certain you will win? Bailey Xianyun laughed and said, of course. Younger sister Rushue, don't worry. I will certainly win in 3 days' time. Then I will make Yi Qingtang publicly disfigure herself. Won't that satisfy your hatred? Not only will we reduce the Jiang family's reputation to shreds, we will destroy the face that you dislike, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Won't that be wonderful? When she heard that, Mu Rushue looked much happier. Elder brother Xianyun, you must keep your word. Of course. Bailey Xianyun smiled. Jiang Yangyun is the most powerful member of his generation in the Jiang Yangyun. The Jiang family has no one else to send into the arena, so naturally they will certainly lose in this round. Elder brother Xianyun, you're very wise, Mu Rishue said with a smile. Bailey Xianyun was inwardly feeling smug. He had seized the opportunity to sweet-talk Mu Rishue. Younger sister Rishue, don't worry. I will tell everyone else in the Bailey family to vote for you in this year's Martial Arts Championships beauty rankings. The smile continued to blossom on Mu Rukshu's face. This was what she deserved, after all. The Bailey and Mu families would certainly vote for her, not to mention the others. Her looks were outstanding, why worry that she would lose? It was just that she didn't like the things those trash were saying. To please Mu Rishue, Bailey Xianyun made sure to check the beauty rankings after the youths of both families had voted. Chapter 1671, In Trouble, 3, the results of the beauty rankings would be announced the next day. In order to prevent anyone from tampering with the ballot box, the number of votes each one had obtained would also be released at the time. Mu Rishue and Bailey Xianyun went to check the rankings with full confidence. But when Mu Rishue saw that she was second with 30 votes, she turned pale. Then she saw that the person at the top of the ranking had 20 or so more votes than her. Her expression turned extremely gloomy. When she saw the name of the person who topped the ranking, bitterness and rage surged within her. Enchanting. What kind of joke is this? How can she be number one? Mu Rishue stared at Enchanting's name at the top of the ranking in disbelief. Dark flames seemed to shoot from her eyes and she was furious enough to strangle that wench. Bailey Xianyun also had not expected this outcome, and his expression stiffened. There were only 20 people from the Jiang family. Even if they had all voted for Enchanting, that was only 20 votes. Where had the other 30 votes come from? They had not expected that on the day that Enchanting had gracefully left the restaurant, everyone present had immediately tore up their vote for Mu Rishue and written Enchanting's name instead. Although Mu Rukshu's mood had just lifted, it now fell to the bottom of the abyss once again. Elder brother Xianyun, I can't wait any longer. I want Enchanting dead immediately. Immediately. Mu Rishue felt that she had never been so insulted in her life. Bailey Xianyun frowned slightly, but he had another plan. A day passed swiftly with 2 more rounds of matches. Enchanting's luck was truly incredible. Each time, her opponent was not too powerful, only slightly more powerful than the previous opponent. She smoothly passed through each round. Instead, it was Jiang Yixing who lost. Because several people from the last championship were absent, the number of participants for the final round of this championship had been increased from 10 to 20. Now, they were competing to select the top 20. The incredibly lucky Enchanting made it to this last round of the selections. At the moment, only she, Jiang Yangyun and Jiang Xiaobai were left out of the Jiang family participants. Enchanting was a dark horse in this competition and the Jiang family elders could not help but marvel over her luck. Strangely enough, the opponents that Enchanting met in the 2 previous rounds were fairly powerful, but were either unwell or injured. They only fought for a while before admitting defeat. The others felt that Enchanting was extremely lucky to have encountered such a fortunate turn of events. However, luck could only bring her so far. The dozen in the final round were all the top competitors from the various ancient clans. No matter who Enchanting fought, she would certainly lose. The Jiang family elders were already very pleased with Enchanting's current situation. So when they drew lots for the final round, they were already prepared for Enchanting to lose. When the results of the lots were announced, Bailey Xianyun made a youth from the Bailey family exchange his lot with Mu Rishue. After the exchange, Mu Rukshu's opponent was announced. Enchanting. Mu Rishue instantly looked smug. She clutched the lot she had obtained from the exchange, and looked at Enchanting in mocking derision. Enchanting should thank her. If she had not wanted to publicly tear Enchanting's face into shreds, Enchanting would not have had the good fortune to remain in the competition up until now. For the past few days, Enchanting's opponents had happened to be from the Bailey family and the Mu family. When Mu Rushua heard the news, she immediately asked the opponents to deliberately give Enchanting a chance to win. The two of them were fairly powerful, but it was unlikely they would make it into the top 10. So they would not offend Mu Rushua and Bailey Xianyun over this matter. In the final round, all the families and elders would be present, and Mu Rushua wanted to completely shame Enchanting in front of everyone on that day. In the future, she would be too embarrassed to appear in front of anyone else. Thinking about this, Mu Rushua was all smiles. How did it feel to smash a person's hopes into Norinth? Chapter 1672, Bearing the Consequences. 1. What a coincidence. Jiang Yixing was stunned when he saw who Enchanting's opponent was. Jiang Shaobai's eyes narrowed. On the side, Jiang Yiran looked shocked. He glanced at Mu Rushua and Enchanting, and could not help but look worried. Enchanting, why don't you just admit defeat? Jiang Yiran was silent for a moment before he finally spoke with some difficulty. Jiang Yiran was not trying to mock Enchanting when he asked her to admit defeat. He was sincerely concerned for her. Jiang Yiran was already vexed that his jesting words had offended that lunatic, Mu Rushua. He had already dragged Jiang Yenyun into the mess. Now he hoped that Enchanting would not be hurt by his mischief. In the earlier round, Mu Rushua had tried to kill him. Now Enchanting was fighting her instead. Given Mu Ruxu's vindictive nature, she certainly would not miss the chance to kill Enchanting in the arena. This is all my fault for having such a big mouth. Enchanting, I'm not trying to put you down, but Mu Rushua is really too powerful. Even I am no match for her. Now she sees you as a thorn in her flesh. If you enter the arena, she will use some vicious tactic on you. Jiang Yiran was truly frantic. Although he had continually said that he wanted to fight Enchanting, after getting along with each other for so long, he rather liked this silent little girl. It was just that he could not help but make a few mean comments to tease her once in a while. It was not just Jiang Yiran. Even the usually stubborn Jiang Yixing was nodding in agreement. Enchanting, I think you should just forget it, Jiang Yixing said. Enchanting looked expressionlessly at the smug-looking Mu Rushua. Jiang Yiran was terrified that Enchanting had been infected with Jiang Yixing's stubbornness. When he saw that she did not reply, he panicked further. Enchanting, are you afraid? Mu Rushua walked through the crowd, straight towards them. Behind her were a few youths from the Mu family. Her face had a mocking smile. Almost subconsciously, Jiang Yiran stood in front of Enchanting, afraid that Mu Rushua would hurt the latter. Now he was truly feeling guilty. He wished he could slap himself and stop himself from spouting so much nonsense. Loser. Get lost. Mu Rushua did not disguise her contempt when she saw Jiang Yiran. She only glanced at him, then looked straight at Enchanting. I am your opponent today. Enchanting, I did not expect us to be destined to fight each other. So it's destiny, Enchanting said calmly, her expression calm and unreadable. Mu Rushua, what do you want? Jiang Yixing stepped forward boldly and shouted at her. Is everyone in the Jiang family such a coward? I'm just here to greet my next opponent. Why are all of you in such a frenzy? Perhaps, a contemptuous look of scorn swept over Enchanting as Mu Rushua laughed softly. You think she's no match for me? Ah. No, you don't just think so. It's a fact. Enchanting got here by luck after all. What kind of true abilities can she possess? You Jiangs are so pathetic. We're not yet at the finals, but there are only 3 of you left. Are you really the descendants of the domain monarch's family? Others really question whether it is the case. Her words seemed to drip with poison. Every word hit at the Jiang family youth's sore spots akin to sprinkling salt on open wounds. Chapter 1673, Bearing the Consequences. 2. Mu Rishue had waited for this day long enough. Bailey Xianyun and the Mu family had pulled many strings to get the youths from the other ancient clans whom they knew to vote for Mu Rishue. Today, they had finally forced Yi Qingtang off the top spot in the rankings. Although she now topped the ranking, the loathing in Mu Rukshu's heart deepened further. This position should have been hers by right, but now she was forced to use her connections before she could even have a tenuous hold on her position. This was an insult to her beauty. It was all Yi Qingtang's fault. If not for her, all this would not have happened. What a rotten smell. Jiang Xiaobai had yet to speak so far, but now he suddenly spoke up. He frowned slightly and covered his nose as he leaned against Yi Qingtang. What? Yi Qingtang was startled. Jiang Xiaobai looked at Yi Qingtang and said, Elder Sister Qing, someone's mouth stinks so badly that the smell makes me nauseous. Let's go somewhere else. I'm afraid I can't stand it much longer and might vomit everything I ate earlier. Yi Qingtang immediately understood Jiang Xiaobai's words. Her lips could not help but twitch upwards. When she saw Yi Qingtang smile, Mu Rishue suddenly understood what Jiang Xiaobai meant. You little devil, how dare you say my mouth is smelly? You, Jiang Xiaobai lazily raised his eyes. Did he name anyone? If your conscience is clear, why are you admitting to it? Or is it? Mu Rukshu's expression immediately darkened. She subconsciously raised her hand to teach Jiang Xiaobai a lesson. In return, Jiang Xiaobai's eyes turned icy. The instant he looked at Mu Rishue, she felt as if a viper from a deep pit was staring at her. A chill crept over her bones. The hand she had lifted froze in midair. This little devil was truly sinister. Let's go. I'm really about to throw up. Jiang Yiran looked at Mu Rishue, whose expression had stiffened, and dragged Yi Qingtang away without a backward glance. Jiang Yiran and the others followed. Mu Rishue only snapped out of her trance when Jiang Xiaobai and the others left. Even so, Mu Rishue could not help but frown whenever she thought of the cold light that had flashed across Jiang Xiaobai's eyes. Who is that little devil? Mu Rishue asked. I think he's Jiang Xiaobai, from the Jiang family, a youth from the Mu family replied. Jiang Xiaobai. Mu Rishue looked puzzled. I heard that he was lost and wandered outside of the family when he was young. The Jiang family only recently found him. He is exceptionally talented and is the second most powerful person in the Jiang family. He's just a little devil. What's so great about him? Mu Rishue scoffed coldly, then turned to leave. Yi Qingtang and Mu Rukshu's match was towards the end and the other youths began their matches first. Jiang Yiran tried several times to persuade Yi Qingtang to admit defeat, so as not to give Mu Rishue a chance to strike, but Yi Qingtang just maintained her silence. This drove Jiang Yiran into a frenzy. At that moment, Elder Qian walked over. He looked at the frantic Jiang Yiran, then at the composed Yi Qingtang and smiled. Qingtang, you've performed very well this time. Mu Rishue is truly a very strong opponent. The disparity between your abilities are too great. So even if you lose, you should not take it to heart. Yi Qingtang's performance to date had already exceeded Elder Qian's expectations. He regretted the 10 over years that Yi Qingtang had wasted, but he felt very assured when he saw how hard she had worked after entering the Taiyuan Valley. Now, he treated Yi Qingtang as he would his own disciple and with a little more sincerity. It was why he had specially come over to speak to her. Chapter 1674, Bearing the Consequences, 3, Elder Qian, this is all my fault. That Murushue, Jiang Yiran hurriedly spoke up and wanted to tell Elder Qian about how he had gotten into trouble and involved Yi Qingtang. He wanted Elder Qian to persuade Yi Qingtang to admit defeat. But before he could finish speaking, Yi Qingtang punched him in the stomach. He could not speak and gasped from the pain. What was this little girl doing? Elder Qian did not know what Jiang Yiran intended to say. Elder Qian, thank you for your concern. I will do my best. Yi Qingtang's expression was serene when she replied to Elder Qian. Elder Qian nodded contentedly and left. Little girl, you're so vicious, Jiang Yiran held his throbbing stomach. I'm entering the arena. You don't need to bother about anything else, said Yi Qingtang. Jiang Yiran opened his mouth, but no words came out. While the next few matches were taking place, Jiang Yiran vanished into thin air. By the time Yi Qingtang noticed and vaguely sensed that something was amiss, her match with Murushue was about to begin. Qingtang. I'm afraid that Jiang Yiran, Jiang Yixing suddenly raced over to Yi Qingtang, panic written over his face. The front of his robes was covered with blood. Yi Qingtang. Murushue, enter the arena. At that moment, Yi Qingtang's name was called to enter the arena. Jiang Yixing still wanted to say something, but someone came to lead Yi Qingtang to the stage. When Jiang Yixing saw that, he broke out in cold sweat. Yi Qingtang frowned slightly and her gaze swept past Jiang Yixing. Jiang Yixing must have something important to say to her regarding Jiang Yiran. What had happened to Jiang Yiran? Meanwhile, the Jiang family elders were watching from the raised platform as Yi Qingtang prepared to fight Murushue. As they knew how the match would end, they were not overly concerned. After all, Yi Qingtang and Murushue were miles apart. She had no hope of winning. It was not just the Jiang family elders. Even the Mu family was not paying any attention to this match. They had never heard of this Yi Qingtang before, and had not seen any outstanding performance from her during this martial arts championship. It was unsurprising that they felt this victory was assured, so it did not matter whether they watched this match or not. Rushue has done very well this year. She must be in the middle of the third heaven of the heavenly venerate realm. A Bailey family elder smiled at a Mu family elder. She already broke through to the middle stage of the third heaven of the heavenly venerate realm before we came, the Mu family elder said with a smile. Your Mu family has another young genius besides Mu Feiruo. Congratulations are in order. The Bailey family elder said. Mu Ruksha's abilities were pretty good. It was unlikely that she would make it into the top 10, but she was already doing very well. Your Bailey family already has 2 members who entered the finals of the previous championship. Bailey Zai's abilities are terrifying, and I heard that Bailey Zuanyan's abilities have also improved vastly this year. The elders from the 2 families did not pay attention to this match, which had a foregone conclusion. Instead, they started flattering each other. As Yi Qingtang pondered the matter, she reached the arena. Murushue also appeared before her eyes. At that moment, Murushue was all smiles. She looked at Yi Qingtang like she would a lamb led to the slaughter. Yi Qingtang, I didn't think you would dare to enter the arena, Murushue said smilingly as she looked at Yi Qingtang. There was no response from Yi Qingtang. But from the corner of her eye, she glimpsed a spot of fresh blood on Mu Rukshu's sleeve. Chapter 1675, A Tooth for a Tooth, 1, The blood was fresh. Judging from the color, it was likely she had stained her sleeve not too long ago. It was still bright red and wet. Murushue noticed what Yi Qingtang was looking at, and raised her hand to examine her sleeve. A trace of a smile suddenly appeared on her lips. "Ah, I'm so careless. I've dirtied my clothes." Mu Rushue raised her head and looked at Enchanting. "Jiang Yiran has already laid down his life to beg me to have mercy on you in the arena. Clearly he knows you are no match for me. I thought you would not dare to enter the arena since you asked him to plead with me. I didn't expect you to be so pathetically stupid. Surely you don't think I'll let you off just because Jiang Yiran came to apologize to me?" Mu Rukshu's words took Enchanting by surprise. Jiang Yiran had apologized to Mu Rushue? What was going on? "What do you mean?" Enchanting asked calmly. Mu Rushue chuckled and looked at Enchanting mockingly. "What's the matter? You're shameless enough to get Jiang Yiran to plead with me, but not shameless enough to admit it. But, what a pity all you Jiangs are equally stupid. He thought I would let you off if he knelt and allowed me to hack at him as I pleased. Ah. I haven't settled the score with him for embarrassing me that day. I almost killed him just now, and he'll consider that payment for his debts. But as for you, I certainly won't let you off. What have you done to Jiang Yiran?" Enchanting's eyes were narrowed and her voice had become extremely soft. "What's the matter?" Mu Rushue suddenly laughed loudly. She peeked at the corner of the central square. "Can't you see for yourself?" Enchanting followed Mu Rukshu's gaze and saw a grim-looking Jiang Yenyun carrying a blood-covered figure, rushing away from the crowd. It was only a glance, but Enchanting's heart felt as though it had turned into ice. "That idiot!" Enchanting drew a deep breath. She had not expected Jiang Yiran to do such a thing. How could he do that just to ensure that Mu Rushue did not try to kill her? Damn him, why was he so stupid that her heart ached. "Don't worry. I didn't kill him. I've always been compassionate." Mu Rushue raised her hand slightly, as if she had shown the utmost grace in not killing Jiang Yiran. "But I won't be so nice to you." Mu Rukshu's eyes grew cold. Enchanting's eyes were lowered. But now she raised them and looked at Mu Rushue again. Her previously calm expression had turned frosty. "Mu Rushue, I'll say the same to you. Jiang Yiran, I will avenge you." The unexpected response stunned Mu Rushue. She sensed that Enchanting's manner had undergone an obvious transformation. "You overestimate yourself. I would like to see how terribly you die in my hands." Mu Rushue suddenly drew her sword and tilted her chin towards Enchanting. Jiang Yixing, who was outside the arena, was frantic. He crouched by the side of the arena, wishing that he could go over and drag Enchanting down. Is Enchanting mad? How can she possibly compete with Mu Rushue? That lunatic is so vicious, she will certainly make things difficult for Enchanting. Xiaobai, why won't you try to dissuade her? Jiang Xiaobai was standing next to the arena. He looked at the chilly-looking young girl standing under the glaring hot sun and did not even bat an eyelid. "My elder sister Qing won't lose." He spoke very slowly. His voice was very soft and his words were almost blown away by the wind. "She won't lose. Even Jiang Yiran was no match for Mu Rushue," Jiang Yixing said. "Didn't Jiang Yiran also lose to elder sister Qing?" Xiaobai remarked casually. Chapter 1676, A Tooth for a Tooth, 2, Jiang Yixing gaped. Xiaobai, that was Jiang Yiran deliberately giving her a chance. The two incidents are not comparable. Shut up and watch. Jiang Xiaobai frowned at the ruckus he was making. In the arena, Mu Rushue had drawn her sword. The blade glittered coldly under the rays of the sun and ripples of spirit energy coursed through her. The spirit energy around her transformed into a glistening wave of light, like stars scattered around her. "What's going on?" Mu Rushue is actually using the Mu family's Whirling Stars move. Am I seeing things, or is Mu Rushue crazy? She's using the Whirling Stars move on that little girl from the Jiang family. How has the Enchanting offended Mu Rushue? Why is Mu Rushue using this move on her? The group of youths who were watching went berserk. The Whirling Stars move was a sword technique unique to the Mu family. It was infinitely powerful. The moment it came into play, it would enclose everything within a given area. All the spirit energy could be transformed into sharp blades, and an opponent in the vicinity of the Whirling Stars would be flayed, until only bare bones remained. This was the Mu family's most vicious move, although not its most powerful one. Even Elder Qian, who was on the elevated platform, could not help but widen his eyes. What was going on? Could there be some enmity between Mu Rushue and Enchanting? Otherwise, why would Mu Rushue use such a vicious move on Enchanting? Elder Qian had wanted Enchanting to gain more experience, but now he could not help but feel worried. With Enchanting's abilities, she certainly could not survive Mu Ruxu's Whirling Stars move. She would be killed. In the arena, Mu Rushue was feeling smug. If she had not wanted to utterly crush Enchanting, she would not even bother to use a move like the Whirling Stars. Mu Rushue felt that Enchanting's abilities were such that the latter could not even withstand a single stroke of her sword. TSCH. What a bore. Enchanting, you should thank me for allowing you to enjoy such a nice view before you die. But how can someone as ugly as you bear the sight of such a beautiful move? Mu Ruxu's smile was filled with condescension. As Enchanting looked at the spirit energy that was slowly gathering and approaching her, her mind was filled with the image of Jiang Yiran's bloody figure. That idiot! The mid-stage of the third heaven of the heavenly venerate realm. Enchanting glanced at the cold gleam amidst the spirit energy. Afraid? A pity that it's too late. You should have realized the disparity between us earlier and just kowtowed and admitted that you were at fault, or admitted defeat. Too bad that now. I won't give you a second chance, Mu Rushue jeered. But Enchanting only calmly looked away. Empty vessels make a lot of noise. Enchanting's soft words took Mu Rushue by surprise. The next moment, Enchanting's figure simply vanished. Her speed shocked Mu Rushue. What was going on? Where had Enchanting gone? While Mu Rushue was in a state of shock, Enchanting suddenly appeared behind her. Mu Rushue felt a cold blast attacking her from behind. She instinctively turned to see that Enchanting had lifted her foot to viciously stamp on the beautiful face that she was so proud of. One kick from Enchanting sent Mu Rushue flying forward with a crash. But she had flown less than a meter before Enchanting reached out and grabbed her by her long hair, hauling her back. Ah! Mu Rushue screamed piteously as her scalp was almost ripped apart. Enchanting showed no signs of pity and only twisted around to stamp on Mu Ruxu's stomach again. Chapter 1677, A Tooth for a Tooth, 3. The force of her move almost crushed Mu Ruxu's organs. Blood spurted from her mouth. That warm blood sprayed Enchanting's face, but it could not reduce the chill in her eyes. Bam! Enchanting lifted her hand and punched Mu Rushue in the face. The punch broke through any form of pitiful defense she could muster and smashed straight into her nose, pulverizing it with a resounding crack. Tears and mucus spurted out, leaving behind no resemblance of her previously gorgeous features. Enchanting's eyes showed no pity as she watched Mu Rushue writhing in pain. Originally, she had not intended to bother with Mu Rushue, because Mu Rushue was not her goal in this martial arts championship. However, Mu Rushue should not have been so cruel to Jiang Yiran. The scene that was unfolding astonished everyone at the martial arts championship. No one had expected Mu Rushue, who was at the mid-stage of the third heaven of the heavenly venerate realm, to be utterly crushed by the young and unknown girl from the Jiang family to the point where she was unable to retaliate at all. The elder from the Mu family, who had been watching in interest, widened his eyes in disbelief as he saw Mu Rishue being crushed like an ant. Even the elder from the Bailey family, who was standing nearby, could not help but frown. At the other end of the seating area, the elders from the Jiang family were utterly floored. What was going on? Somehow, Enchanting had completely suppressed Mu Rishue. But they all knew that Mu Rishue was a powerful figure at the mid-stage of the heavenly venerate third heaven. Unless Enchanting's abilities had surpassed those of Mu Rishue, why was she unharmed by the swirling stars? Elder Qian, what? Just what is going on? Enchanting's abilities, Elder Kuan, who had never noticed Enchanting before, was shocked, to say the least. Elder Qian gaped, but did not know what to say. How would he know what was going on with Enchanting's abilities? When they had tested Enchanting's talents, they had clearly nothing like this. The Jiang family elders were shocked speechless. Jiang Yixing, who had been filled with concern, was standing next to the arena, watching Enchanting land punch after punch on Mu Rukshu's face. The force of her blows had caused that exquisite face to become bruised and swollen, and it now looked distorted and hideous. Qing Tang. Jiang Yixing was so shocked that he was stammering. Shut up. Keep watching. Jiang Shaobai's eyes were fixed on Enchanting. His expression was warm, and his eyes were filled with amusement. In the arena, Mu Rishue had fainted under Enchanting's heavy punches. Enchanting had used the simplest and crudest methods, but her force was shocking. She had beaten Mu Rishue until she was unable to retaliate and her head was buzzing. The fervent punches had Mu Rishue injured to the point that she flopped onto the ground. Blood bubbled out her mouth, a crimson stream that leaked from uncountable wounds all over her body. Her eyes, which were already swollen, vaguely saw Enchanting in front of her. Her eyes were filled with shock and anguish. How could this be? How could this be? How could Enchanting compare with her? Impossible. The person whom she assumed she could defeat so casually, was now abusing her without restraint. The arrogant Mu Rishue was crushed by shame and despair. Mu Rishue, do you think you're very beautiful? Enchanting slowly walked over to Mu Rishue. She looked down at Mu Rishue, who was lying there like a sack of dirty mud. Enchanting suddenly reached out and dragged Mu Rishue up. With a flick of her wrist, she unsheathed the sword that was girdled around her waist. As she held the sword blade in front of Mu Rishue, the latter could clearly see her features gleaming across the blade. Chapter 1678. Amazing. 1. Mu Rukshu's eyes almost fell out of her head when she saw the distorted, swollen face in the reflection. Intermittent roars burst from her throat. She had always treasured her looks and had never dreamt that she would one day appear in public looking so disgusting and ugly. How dare she? Mu Rishue struggled to free herself from Enchanting. She seemed to go berserk and she covered her face tightly and peered at the contemptuous eyes looking at her from outside the arena. Then she screamed and fled the arena, half running, half crawling in her desperation. How could this be? Enchanting should be the one in this state. In the arena, Enchanting had shattered Mu Rukshu's arrogance inch by inch, and her dignity was in shreds. Bailey Xianyun, who was seated on the platform, looked grim as he watched this scene unfold. None of Enchanting's previous opponents were particularly powerful, and he had not heard from the Jiang family that she had any great ability. So they had secretly assumed that Enchanting was weak and easily bullied. Who knew that a surprise like this would occur? Mu Rishue fled, which meant that she conceded the match. The winner of the match was clearly Enchanting. Tang, you were amazing. Jiang Yixing's eyes glowed as he watched Tang leave the arena. He suddenly recalled how he had confidently given Tang pointers on cultivation, and his cheeks flamed in embarrassment. Embarrassing, so embarrassing. With Tang's abilities, why would she need his pointers? All the Jiang family elders were gratified by this unexpected outcome. Elder Qian was surprised and delighted. He had not expected Tang to improve so quickly. However, the joy of Elder Qian and the others was mingled with regret. Tang's abilities had exceeded their expectations. Her abilities were considered above average in the martial arts championship, but she was still worlds apart from the other youths and the top 10 from the last martial arts championship. All the top 10 from the past championship were at the fourth heaven of the heavenly venerate realm. Since Tang had beaten Mu Rishue, who was at the mid-stage of the third heaven of the heavenly venerate realm, she must be at least at the peak of the last stage of the third heaven of the heavenly venerate realm. This was already a remarkable achievement, but she was still some distance away from being able to challenge the top 10. What a pity. If we had known earlier, we could have spent a little more effort on her, and she might have a chance of making it to the top 10. Elder Kun could not help but sigh. They had felt that the gap between Tang and the others was too great, so they had not spent much effort on her. Now they could not help but regret their decision. Even if she's at the peak of the third heaven of the heavenly venerate realm, it is extremely difficult to enter the fourth heaven. Although it is just a step away, how many talented youths have been stuck at that stage for decades, unable to advance? Elder Qian sighed softly. He was both gratified and remorseful. The closer a cultivator got to the fifth heaven, the harder it was to advance. They had seen many talented youths who were stuck at the peak of the third heaven for decades. The elders who had initially overlooked Tang could not help but feel regret. Tang had only just entered the Taiyuan Valley, but had managed to advance to this realm already. If she had not been lost in the first place, but trained in Taiyuan Valley since young, with her level of comprehension and her demonic heavenly demon bloodline, the Jiang family would have raised another outstandingly talented disciple. Chapter 1679. Amazing, too. The more the Jiang family elders thought about it, the more depressed they felt. They could not help but feel despondent. At the moment, the Mu family elder's expression was extremely ugly. When he saw that Mu Rishue had fled with such severe injuries, he hurriedly arranged for someone to look into it. Before this fight, no one had paid any attention to Tang. But after this fight, some people began to notice her. The Jiang family has been hiding this girl. They've managed to keep this secret quite well, Qiu Heang said smilingly. Qiu Chen, who was nearby, gave a mocking look. Is there any need to hide this kind of ability? She only beat Mu Rishue, not like it's a big deal. That Mu Rishue was only at the mid-stage of the third heaven. Even if she won the match, it would be impossible to enter the top 10 without reaching the fourth heaven. Qiu Heang laughed softly. I heard there was some conflict between Mu Rishue and a few of the Jiang family members. Who cares about their conflicts? Both the Jiang family and the Mu family are beneath us. Although Tang beat Mu Rishue, she has not yet entered the fourth heaven. In the Jiang family, only 2 people have ascended into the realm of the fourth heaven. Qiu Chen had no interest in opponents who had not yet reached the fourth heaven of the heavenly venerate realm. His goal was to become one of the top 10 in the martial arts championship. The fourth heaven of the heavenly venerate realm could be said to be the most basic requirement for becoming one of the top 10 in the martial arts championship. Without attaining this realm, one need not even dream of achieving it. Today's victors would challenge the top 10 from the past martial arts championship tomorrow. All of them were outstanding, and although the outcome of Tang's match had surprised many, it did not create much of a stir among the many victors. After winning the match, Enchanting did not linger in the square. Instead, she immediately went with Jiang Yixing and Jiang Xiaobai to Jiang Yiran's room. At that moment, Jiang Yiran was partly conscious. Jiang Yanyan had brought him back and arranged for his treatment before returning to the square to prepare for his own match. At the moment, only 2 youths who knew Jiang Yiran were sitting with him in his room. Jiang Yiran bared his teeth in agony. He had numerous injuries all over and his handsome face had been reduced to a bloody pulp. One eye was injured and he could only open it partially. He was startled when his other eye saw Enchanting and the others enter the room. "Little girl, surely you didn't enter the arena." When Jiang Yiran saw Enchanting, he immediately asked about his greatest concern. Enchanting was shocked to see Jiang Yiran's numerous injuries. But when she saw that Jiang Yiran was still clear-headed, she secretly breathed a sigh of relief. "Who says Enchanting didn't enter the arena?" "Her match is over," Jiang Yixing said. "What?" Jiang Yiran was shocked. He involuntarily tried to sit up, but the moment he moved, he groaned in agony. "You stupid girl. I told you not to go and just admit defeat. Why didn't you listen? Did that lunatic make things difficult for you?" Jiang Yiran gritted his teeth against the pain as he asked. Enchanting shook her head. She was about to reply when Jiang Yixing cut in. "How can scum like Mu Rushue make things difficult for Enchanting? She can just dream on. You didn't see how Enchanting punched the daylights out of Mu Rushue just now." While the feeling was great, from then, Jiang Yixing proceeded to give an animated description of how Enchanting had decimated Mu Rushue. He could not help but exaggerate a little, painting a vivid portrait of Mu Rukshu's fitting disgrace. How the proud had fallen. Chapter 1680, Amazing, 3. After hearing everything, Jiang Yiran's concern was transformed into shock. He looked at Enchanting in bewilderment. It was as if he was seeing Enchanting for the first time. "Why didn't you say earlier that you could beat her?" When Jiang Yiran finally recovered his wits, his first impulse was to burst into tears. If he had known that Mu Rushue was no match for Enchanting, why would he allow Mu Rushue to beat him up? "Would you have believed me even if I told you?" Enchanting looked at Jiang Yiran. Jiang Yiran opened his mouth. Before he closed it again. No, he absolutely would not have believed her. For a moment, Jiang Yiran was utterly despondent. Not only would he not have believed her, even Jiang Yixing and the others would not have believed her. They had always thought that Enchanting's abilities were average at best. Even if Enchanting had argued her case eloquently, they would not have believed that she really had that kind of ability. "I didn't expect you to." Enchanting looked at Jiang Yiran. What he had done had taken Enchanting by surprise. Although this fellow had a sharp tongue, he really took responsibility for his own actions. "Are you saying I'm stupid?" At that moment, Jiang Yiran felt like crying. Enchanting was speechless. "All right, you'd better rest. Enchanting has already avenged you. I think Mu Rushue is even worse off than you," Jiang Yixing said. When Jiang Yiran heard that, he immediately cheered up. "I can't stand that lunatic. Good riddance since you've beaten her to death." Enchanting stopped worrying when she saw that Jiang Yiran still had the energy to joke. "But Enchanting, for the next round, you have to challenge those monsters who were in the top 10 of the last martial arts championship. You have to be careful. Even though you've beaten Mu Rushue, that Bailey Xianyun and Mu Feiruo are all close to her, so you must avoid challenging them. They'll definitely be difficult to deal with." Jiang Yiran started worrying again. He really wished he had curbed his sharp tongue. "My goddess won't be so petty," Jiang Yixing muttered. "That's her younger sister." Jiang Yiran glared at Jiang Yixing. "It's not just Mu Feiruo. Bailey Shi, who is in first place, is also from the Bailey family. If Bailey Xianyun has a word with him, then, the more Jiang Yiran thought about it, the more worried he grew. Bailey Shi was famous for his near-demonic powers. Even now he was undefeated. Stop worrying. The contestants can choose who they want to challenge from the previous top 10. Not all the previous top 10 are present this year, so they probably haven't figured out how to adapt the rules yet, Jiang Yixing reasoned. Jiang Yiran thought about it and agreed, so he did not say anything more. He simply collapsed on his bed, moaning in pain, until Jiang Yixing felt like punching him. Meanwhile, Bailey Xianyun hurried to Mu Ruxu's rooms before the day's matches were over. When Enchanting was fighting Mu Ruxue, she had used the simplest, crudest moves. Not only had she beaten Mu Ruxue until she was unrecognizable, the latter had also sustained many internal injuries. The physician from the Mu family was treating Mu Ruxue when Bailey Xianyun arrived, but Mu Ruxue hid behind a veil, unwilling to let anyone see her ugliness. "Younger sister Ruxue, how are you?" Bailey Xianyun asked, his voice filled with concern. "I want to kill her. I'll kill her." Mu Ruxu's hoarse cries emerged from behind the veil. Bailey Xianyun frowned slightly. He had not expected Enchanting to be even more powerful than Mu Ruxue. Chapter 1681, One Wave After Another. 1. Sister Ruxue, don't worry. I will settle this debt for you. I will not let off those who have harmed you. Bailey Xianyun expressed his loyalty. Brother Xianyun, not only do I want her disfigured, I want her dead. She has utterly humiliated me today. I desperately wish to tear her into pieces. Don't worry. Count on me, Bailey Xianyun reassured her. Just then, the door was opened and the cool-looking Mu Feiruo entered. Her face remained impassive when she noticed Bailey Xianyun in the room. Feiruo. Bailey Xianyun inclined his head. Mu Ruxue glanced at the curtain. As if she could detect Mu Feiruo's arrival, Mu Ruxue burst into aggrieved tears. "Feiruo, the Enchanting has gone too far today. I cannot let her off just like that. She has already passed through the final round and will challenge the top 10 from now. This is a good opportunity to avenge Ruxue," Bailey Xianyun immediately spoke up. But Mu Feiruo just cast a sweeping glance at him and left before he even finished his sentence. Bailey Xianyun was momentarily taken aback by Mu Feiruo's indifferent attitude. Nevertheless, he didn't care. He had to focus on how to avenge Mu Ruxue. Soon enough, he came up with an idea. That evening, Enchanting and the rest of the group specially brought dinner over to Jiang Yiran's room as he was injured. The group of them ate together. But before they finished eating, several Jiang family youths entered, their faces all battered and bruised. When they saw Enchanting in the room, their expressions became grim. "Wow, what happened to you guys? Are you really that nice? To join me in my injured state?" Jiang Yiran teased. Those youths were not in a joking mood at all. Stone-faced, they said, "It's the Enchanting." "What?" Jiang Yiran was shocked. The Jiang family youths narrated the entire story then and there. On the way out for dinner, they met a bunch of people from the Bailey clan and the Mu family. All should have been fine and well, but the youths from those two other families suddenly attacked them without any reason. They were already a small group, and faced with youths from the two families combined, the Jiang family youngsters endured an utter thrashing. After being beaten up, the two youths from the other families told them that they were attacked because of Enchanting and Mu Ruxue. As a result, they hurried over. Bailey Xianyun wanted them to tell us that for the next part of the competition, unless Enchanting personally challenges him, he will send youths from the Bailey clan and Mu family over to make trouble every day. As they said this, the Jiang family youths all glared angrily at Enchanting. They were not at all interested in the quarrel between Enchanting and Mu Rishue, and didn't even know of it in the first place. But now that they had been beaten up for nothing, they couldn't help being angry at the instigator. They wouldn't have had to suffer that beating if not for Enchanting. What does that mean? What does Bailey Xianyun want to do? Jiang Yixing furrowed his brows tightly. Has he gone insane because of Mu Rishue? Brother Yun has already agreed to challenge him. Why is he looking for trouble now? Jiang Yiran was completely perplexed. How would we know? The Jiang family youths snorted rudely. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.